Hey there, Matt Burns from TechCrunch TV and Nicholas DeLeon, and we're here with Gary Shapiro. He wrote The Comeback. It's a very interesting book about innovation in America. Can you kind of give us a little background about what made you think to write this book?
Well, The Comeback is about the U.S. and about innovation. And the way I view it is, first of all, my job as head of the Consumer Electronics Association is to look out for the industry. 2,000 technology companies, every great company and great retailer. And I think things are going in the wrong direction generally. We as a nation have dominated the last 100 years because we've been innovative. Our First Amendment allowed us to say or do anything we want without fear of the government stepping on us. We are a mosaic of immigrants, which we genetically are people who wanted something better, and that's in our blood. And so we've always pushed back, and we've been blessed, and we've always done things, and we've dominated the internet now. We've done a lot of things right. But the things that made us great, in my view, are now being shut back. After September 11th, for example, we shut the door on immigration. I was on the board of Virginia's largest university, and all of a sudden we saw the international students not only not applying, but being solicited away by other countries. And they know that. They know they're not welcome here. And when they're educated here, we kick them out. So in immigration, we're not doing it in free trade, which has made us great. You know, what makes Apple a great company part is they're basically all over the world. They create here, they build elsewhere, they sell in China to Europe. They are being forced, and other U.S. companies are being forced more and more now to basically not do things in the U.S. by our tax structure, by our liability system, by our immigration policies, and by our trade policies. In trade, we're the only major country in the world that hasn't entered a trade agreement in the last 4 years. Canada, Latin America, Europe, Asia have all basically entered trade agreements, and so we've stood still. We've put up this protected barrier. And plus, the biggest thing that's overhanging us now is we're just spending much more than we're making. And politicians of both parties basically are saying they're just kicking the can down the road to the next generation, and we're the first generation in history to basically give the next generation more problems rather than sacrifice for them. Sure. So the same time we have kids basically giving their lives and limbs in Afghanistan and Iraq, the rest of the country, both parties, is just behaving like totally irresponsible. So my mother taught me that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So this book is basically saying, here's the problem, we all know what it is, let's be mature American adults, and let's start solving it.
Well, you sent me a copy of the book a few weeks ago, and I read it, and it was good. It definitely gave me some different points I never thought about. So you feel it's the U.S. government's role is not to stifle innovation. So what type of policies could they enact, or rather disallow that could help build America's innovation back up to what it used to be?
Well, in my view, the federal government has a very limited role. They should just stay out of the way. I mean, they have to create a corporate tax structure which makes sense, that doesn't encourage money to stay abroad. Sure. It allows us to bring the best and brightest rather than create companies abroad. They should obviously be promoting free trade. There's things they can do, but they should really say, we're not asking for any money. We never have as an organization. At the local and state level, certainly our K through 12 education is just dismal for a whole bunch of reasons. Interestingly, at the university and graduate level, we're really doing well. We have the best universities in the world are the United States. That's part of our secret sauce and our strategy. The First Amendment, immigration, our university system, our way of always doing things better, our ability to reward entrepreneurs. I think the danger we've seen lately is we've created this class warfare where all of a sudden people who make money now are considered the enemy. And that's a very dangerous thing. The American way is a Horatio Alger story. You work hard, you create something really great that people want, and you benefit from that. I don't think we want to go back to a system where we discourage that. So the whole point is innovation is a great thing. Look, you could get out of the mess we're in one of three ways. You can cut all government spending, you can raise all sorts of taxes, or you can grow the economy. I think you have to do a combination of all three in a way. I think you really have to focus on growing the economy, and you can only grow through innovation.
Now you have an interesting role in innovations with the VCR fight back in the late 70s and early 80s. Do you see any technologies now that are being stifled, like the VCR was?
Absolutely. My entire career, the last 30 years, has been built on making sure the new technologies could be introduced. Because if you think about it, every new innovation, every technology is displacing somebody else. It was the VCR, it was the motion picture industry. I fought hand-to-hand combat with Jack Loney, the Motion Picture Association. They actually got a court to make that product illegal, and the Supreme Court thankfully reversed it by a 5-4 decision. One justice made all the difference. That decision allowed a lot of new technology to be introduced, but along the way I had to go in Congress and I had to defend the internet itself, the ability to send emails. A lot of basically things you could do in your computer, manipulating entertainment and data, have been challenged in various ways. Lots of products have not been introduced because still the copyright fines are so large and so dangerous. For a big company, would bankrupt them. For a small one, they're sued out of existence. That happens all the time. Clearplay was a company that had a product which just deleted dirty words from movies. It was sued out of existence. There's lots of examples of products which were pulled out because the content community has a nuclear arsenal of damages that are 6 figures per day per infringement, which basically force companies into pulling back. Look, the music industry sued 30,000 Americans and took all their money away, and they're still smarting over that. And it really hasn't solved their big problem, which is the fact that consumers consume music differently today.
Sure. So your book's kind of a call to arms, if you will. But I took it not as a call to arms to my generation or Nicholas's, same generation, but rather to the baby boomers. What could we do that in the same role?
Actually, I don't address that directly. We are encouraging people to join the innovation movement. It is over 100,000 Americans that care about these things. And now there's a generation which is basically being trampled on by greedy geezers, by intergenerational theft of everyone voting on whether it's cash for clunkers or stimulus packs. Everything is make me feel good today, and it's basically putting a debt on the next generation which will not be able to be paid. There will not be money available for schools or for military or for anything, medical, healthcare. Forget it. It's just not going to be there, and there's no youth movement out there demanding that responsible politicians of both parties stand up and do something.
You talked a lot about innovation, but I'm not sure even know what that word means anymore, innovation. It just gets thrown around so often. Could you give me, what is your definition of innovation, and why should people care about it?
Well, innovation is doing something different that people are willing to pay for, in my view. Obviously, you could innovate in all sorts of ways and it won't matter because no one's interested. We're all innovating every time we speak or do something different. The question is whether there's a marketplace value for it. And that's, at the Consumer Electronics Show, that's what a lot of companies are doing. They're putting out their ideas and they're seeing if someone's willing to pay for them, whether it be a retailer or a journalist will write about them or an investor will invest in them. So this is the ultimate marketplace of innovation and ideas. But we see it, you can go beyond technology, you can go to the content world of movies or music or publishing. Or you can go into the biotechnology world. Innovation is doing something very different, whether it's the cotton gin or whether it's the automobile. Innovation is what has moved our nation forward. It's what made our lives better. It's what gives us health in ways where generations before us would die in childbirth or die much younger or from disease. So it's the goal I think we have is to make our lives as humans better, and that requires people doing something, thinking about something differently. Even Alan Mulally of Ford, who will be here, he's an innovator. Look, they got a guy from Boeing, an airplane company, and he basically fundamentally changed Ford around as a leader. Did he actually invent anything? Not really, but what he says, I want to make the car focused on technology and consumer electronics technology. We're going to be a technology company more than we're an automobile company. Oh, and by the way, we're not going to take any government bailout money. That made him an absolute hero with American people, and they responded, and Ford has done phenomenally well. So there are a lot of innovators in our country. That's what we are genetically predisposed to be, are innovators, because we always think we could do something better than the next guy over, and that is what our secret sauce is. And as I said earlier, it stems from our genetics. We came from people that came here for a better life, that suffered for us, all of us did. And plus our First Amendment is just aimed, like other countries, if you go away from the status quo. Like we worry about China and we used to worry about Japan. I go to those countries. I don't see a lot of innovation in the sense that it is groupthink. You're not encouraged to speak out. The United States, failure is actually a good thing. You start a business and you fail, or you try something, you fail. You have learned from it. You've gotten experience. It's like I tell our employees, you have to risk. You have to do something like it. You have to make something happen. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. Not telling people or not learning from it, that's bad. But you have to make mistakes to succeed.
I also wanted to ask that you seem to be of the opinion that perhaps government policies today, they're almost stifling innovation. Not even you mentioned Hollywood, how they're just hating on every sort of thing that comes out. Do you see other countries? Is that so much of a problem elsewhere? As like you mentioned, China and India, are their governments more pro innovation as opposed to the U.S., which seems to sort of been stuck in a sort of me now,
It's a great question. I mean, I think the United States still has the best fundamental structure for innovation, and in how we encourage and reward people and train people, and how we think, and there's no real penalty for trying something different. Cultures like that are homogeneous, China, Korea, Japan, and they have some real great pockets of innovation, but generally there's a lot of groupthink going on there, and so they don't have the same benefits that we do.
Well, China, I mean, didn't gunpowder pay for? I mean, they had some pretty big things have come out of China.
Absolutely, and well, you could say many great things came out of Egypt, but you're talking go far back in history.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm just saying
talking
that,
the last few hundred years, the U.S. has led in innovation. There's no question about that. And I would defend that. The thing is, we are, though, at the cultural stage or the empire stage of complacency, which happens to every great empire. And all the signs are there. We've gotten arrogant. We think it's our God-given right to be the best, and we're not doing anything about it. We're not hungry. We're not scared. We're just demanding of me, and I'm entitled to this or I'm entitled to that. Look at all the lawyers we have doing basically nothing but ruining society through all their suing for everything, or the government regulators who just make you jump through so many hoops. I would say it's easier to get things done in Hong Kong than it is in the United States. I mean, or Singapore. There's a lot of countries that are aiming now towards innovation in a way which is very brilliant. Singapore, so strategic. They're doing everything they can to get companies to locate there and innovate there through their tax policy. U.S. has the second highest corporate rate in the developed world, only second to Japan. That encouraged corporations to move everything overseas. We're forcing it. Plus, our culture that President Obama has set on down is now anti-business. Now, he's pivoted a little bit since the election, but basically, business is now the enemy. All you hear is business and greed together in sentences. And now we are creating an anti-corporate, anti-business society from the top on down, and it's a very dangerous precedent we're under. Because, at some point, all these people with all their entitlements and the 2 years of unemployment for doing nothing is going to collapse the whole system, so there won't be any business to create any jobs, because all the businesses will have gone overseas where they're more welcome.
Well, anyway, The Comeback comes out next month, right?
It's out today.
Barnes & Noble, Amazon?
Barnes & Noble, Amazon.
Thank you so much for your time. Had a great show.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for doing this.